Here with Rudy Arguelles, Riverside Community College head coach, longtime assistant, was player there, but now 5 state championships. This is a great story that I don't think a lot of people know. You've been there for all 5, so that puts you in rarefied air now. You guys are tied for 3rd overall and 1 win away from going to 2nd place and then sniffing 9. I mean, I don't want to talk too much down the road on that, but again, this is a great story that I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to because you're in rarefied air now with 5 state championships.
Thank you, Ryan. Yes, it's been there's been a lot of attachment, a lot of history. I've not thought of any other place other than when you first start out. You end your playing career. You get into the coaching. You and I talked about it a little bit. It wasn't something that I truly did pursue. It was something that I was approached with my mentor, and Dennis Rogers. When I was still playing, and he was adamant about it that you've got to get into the coaching realm of things. You've got to come back. This is for you. Wild. There's all kinds of stories, and everyone's journey is different, but it wasn't something that I pursued, but I am truly, truly blessed. I love what I do to this day, even having to navigate, as we talked about, before, having to navigate and get through these really tough times that, to be honest with you, still exist here at our institution that we're dealing with, that are tough, that are frustrating. But man, it's been awesome to me, for my family, for everybody that I've been involved with. So, when I see the black and orange, those colors, man, it really does resonate and it really hits with me, with Riverside and the Tiger family.
What did Dennis see in you that he knew was a calling for you that maybe you didn't see at the time?
Oh man. I think it was just that, well, maybe a couple things, but I know one stood out, just the mere fact of, embracing and the desire and will to just compete. Undersized player, none of the skill sets tipped any of the levels, when it came to pro ball, let alone Division I caliber baseball, but it was that willingness to embrace competitiveness, just to compete, and I didn't care who it was. And I think he saw that. Brought me in a couple times with some, every team goes through scenarios and situations, and then there's individual meetings that come on, and you're smiling right now because everyone that's done this, has been in this, understands this conversation right now. And with him, I'll never forget it. He brought me in one moment, and we're getting ready to make a push late in the season, get into the playoffs. And he says, how do we instill, or how do we get, some of the players to find that fire? And I remember looking at him. To this day, I can create that scenario, that picture right now. And I remember looking at him, and I said, I don't have an answer for you, because that fire you're telling me to explain and how to give out had been prevalent with me since I could ever remember as a kid, doing anything. I didn't care. I didn't care if we were playing a pickup game, a board game. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was, my cousins and they were female, or my cousins, they were male, if it was someone on the block. I just had that innate fire and desire to compete. And I think he recognized that, and then you top that off with work ethic. And that's something that was developed and instilled in me as a young man. And I give 100% credit to my grandfather who raised me, and, may he rest in peace. He's no longer with us, but, it was about work. You had to work. If you wanted something, you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to put your time.
Hey,
and
when
be
was your
willing.
first job growing up?
You're gonna laugh. Um, they would take me around with a lawnmower edger, rake, and I was doing lawns in the neighborhood before I was even legal to even have a job.
Paper route was my first one. My
You
parents
know,
instilled that in me. I think we missed that opportunity for this generation of kids. Like, there's no paper routes anymore, but that was me underage. Obviously not. That was your first opportunity really to work in Southern Indiana was the paper route. So I learned you had to go door to door. You had to collect money. That instilled a work ethic in me. Of okay, I didn't want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to deliver papers, but I did, and my mom helped me, and so like that. But money equals freedom. I was able to buy some things at a young age that we wouldn't have been able to afford as a family. So that was my first taste of it was a paper route.
100%. And my wife and I, even in this household, still have that conversation. How times have changed.
Yeah,
Still try to instill those
yeah,
values, um, but in different ways with the way the layout is today. But that was it. I was doing lawns, and then when I was able to obtain a job legally, my first job, I worked at a car wash, USA Car Wash.
I
You
worked in
know,
the kitchen. That was my
yeah,
first job. I worked in the pub in Evansville. That was my first job in high school was washing dishes.
and held the job all the way through high school. Always had one.
Yep.
Pizza delivery guy.
Yep. But your mentality, you had to have been one of Murph's favorite guys at Arizona State, just from your mentality. Because when I get around you, that fits for me. I'm like, and I know Murph going way back to Notre Dame and Evansville days. Just my first interaction with you, I was like, okay, that's got to be one of Murph's favorites
You
because of
know,
overachiever.
it thing, and anybody who knows Murph, he was gonna go against the grain if he had the opportunity to
Yes.
do so. If he had the opportunity to prove anybody wrong by going against the grain, he was gonna do it. He was first
Yeah.
in line.
Yeah.
You know, the man was a motivator, 100%. Could speak, communicate, and there was always a method to the madness for sure. You know, um, and I believe so. It was a crazy situation and story with that. I had a layoff as a player, raised by grandparents, had to go to work. Anybody who knows that story was fortunate to come back to Dennis, to RCC. Um, and then down here in California at the JC level, we have two All Star games, one for the North, one for the South. And back in that day, I was chosen to attend and represent. And I showed up, and a longtime coach here in our conference, in the Orange Empire Conference, was Nick Piscardo. And man, I owe Nick to this day. There was another player that didn't show up, and I remember Nick looking at me and he goes, "Hey, you ready to play all night?" Because you had to split time up, and he knew my story and whatnot. And um, he goes, I told him, Coach, I am. So with that, I mean, I got to play all 9 innings in that game, the only guy. I ended up getting 2 at-bats from the right side, 2 at-bats from the left side, stole some bags, threw a runner out. I played well. Uh, at that time, I thought that, hey, that's just normal. And Ryan, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I came back and I was playing in those days, I truly didn't understand what was the difference between Division 1, Division 2. I just knew there was college baseball. And that may sound silly to people, but that was me. It was just about, hey, in the moment, play, whatever develops, develops. I got home and my phone was blowing up. And back in those days, there was the tape recorders
Yep.
attached to your phone. So you had to press and listen to the messages. Um, but my phone was ringing, and it was Dennis, and he's yelling. He's yelling. I can't say the words he was telling me, but basically, like, what did you do? And the way he was saying it, I'm like, I'm thinking trying to go back, like, did I do anything wrong? Like, what did I do wrong? Why is he mad at me? And I didn't understand. So then finally he goes, no, like, what went on today? We played. What did you do? So I told him what I did. And he goes, okay. That's who Dennis was. Dennis was, hey, you're going to sit down. Here's where the interest is. Let's create our checklist. Let's talk about, now today's day and age, everyone is talking about, hey, it's about fit. It's about fit. It's about fit. Get your boxes checked off. And which is important. He was doing it way back in the day. And he really wanted you to go into those situations to where, hey, they're not asking the questions. You're giving them the questions for them to give you the feedback, which is great. And I still try to carry that over to the guys as well. It's about educating them. It's about informing them. But that happened. I was blessed. I was fortunate. Phone was ringing off the hook. It was exciting, but I still, to be honest with you, Ryan, I didn't really understand like what's happening right now. It's cool. I'm going to get to play beyond RCC. And that's Doug Schreiber. Schreiber was there, and he's the one that had the recruiting process with me. And it got a little sticky, to this day, I love Frank Anderson, even though I don't get to talk to Frank very much, and that's a fiery man right there, right? And I thought, hey, I'm going to go to Texas Tech, to be honest with you, when he was there. But then again, the layoff, had to go through the NCAA, had to appeal that process. And so the schools wanted to step back and let that process take place where here comes Murph, go against the grain. It's the underdog. Get his butt down here. You let him know we don't care. We're not going to wait. We want to move forward with the process. I want this young man to understand he needs to be a Sun Devil. And you know me a little bit now, right? That right there was like, okay, enough said. I really probably didn't even need to take that visit because I was fired up just hearing that. And boy, was I right to make that decision. If there's another program in the country that I could ever be a part of, to ever assist, to pursue a championship, it's Sun Devil land, man, for sure. Deep in my heart, deep in my soul, 100%.
Hey, you got love on Twitter this week. Just the graphic was phenomenal, but your son tweets at you, and how gratifying is that? I think as a parent, like you don't know if they're paying attention or watching, but they do, and so like to get that, like I thought it was awesome.
The emotions, being able to share your emotions, letting your emotions go free, when we were down there at Folsom. And it's just what life does to you. If you're really bearing down and your intent is high and you're truly on that journey of trying to be better each and every day. If you're really on that journey, that's what life's going to bring to you. Those experiences, whether people look at it as soften you up, I look at it as here's the real person that's really evolving in front of everyone's eyes, and that is special beyond special. I'm saying that because I'm pointing at you right now. You're going to try to make me cry right now. And
I'll cry with you. You and I are kindred spirits in that way, from an emotion and raw emotion and pouring your heart and soul into it. You and I are kindred spirits because life, it's like life almost washes over you. Yeah. If you're willing to allow it, life is going to wash over you. And so it's okay to show emotions, and it should. Like if you care about something, you're going to show emotion.
100%. And so when he's not a young man of many words, he's the third one, the youngest, and everyone that knows him, he's just like this, but to have him say that and put that out, like I said, when it comes from your son, it hits a little different, and I'm grateful.
At what point last year did you know, hey, we have a legitimate chance of winning this thing, or did it ever occur to you at some point? I mean, because you had a lot of freshmen on the roster on both sides. At what point did you know, hey, we may have a chance to win this thing?
It was really navigating through the whole COVID situation, and like I said, we're still navigating.
Yeah.
But it was in the fall, and we carried more numbers than we had ever carried ever in the history. And again, I'm going on 24 from the coaching side of things, and we had to sit down as a staff, as we do with everything, and go, hey, do we want to do this and open this up to this situation because of the numbers? And again, different sentiment, different feelings because of circumstances. Let's give everybody opportunity and chance to be involved. Um, so we did that, and it was in the fall, and we had, believe it or not, we had our first scout day we have ever held at RCC, because we truly felt, man, we got tremendous depth. I think, and we believe that we had talent, to be. Some say don't speak about it in the early stages. It's about establishing the baselines, the foundations again. And we have to say that because our turnover is so dang quick. I've kind of changed from that. It's you are who you are, and the foundational pieces are set. We continue to grow, we continue to add. We might even take away a little bit as time goes and whatever your personnel is dealt. But our turnover is so quick within the JC side of things. So I mean, you got to be on top, and we bring it from day one. If it's about championship mentality, and if you're not addressing it, you're not bringing it up, you're not giving examples, you're not setting the standards. They may not even know what that means. It's just a word. So we felt we had it. We truly did. We set that pro day up, scout day up, and man, we had 50 plus from the D1, D2 professional side show up to it. We were like, holy cow! Like,
That's awesome.
why did it take us so long to put something up like this? Well, that's what COVID did bring to us. That's what it did bring to us. So we felt there, but then, okay, here comes the challenges, with the COVID, the shutdowns, and all this and that, and mandates.
California, you guys, what you guys have gone through. No other state has had to deal with what you guys have had to deal with from a COVID standpoint. Your protocols have been the tightest of everybody. I don't think anybody outside of your state understands that and how tight your guys' protocols were with everything.
I won't bring up specific names, but I can tell you, no, that was part of the emotion at the end there. It was, the gratification,
Yep.
the satisfaction, the joy of winning that championship for those particular young men on the field, man. There's nothing like it. And they earned every bit of it. And I couldn't have been more proud of them with the resilience that they displayed and they showed. But it was also for every Tiger who has ever been part of this family, been a part of this, and understands. And I think that's something different that you alluded to, because I've been here for so long. I've been a part of it in every facet, player, assistant, my feelings on the head. It's you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And there's zero. That's one of the mantras that we have. There's zero egos here. Absolutely zero. There's no room for them.
And your assistants have been through the wars too, and Dave Martinez and I go way back to Purdue, Iowa days. And so your assistants have been through the wars also.
Absolutely. And it's just, it was great for that, but it was those conversations that I had to have with players, with their parents, um, with the mandates, the situations, the scenarios. And um, I think that's there where we had fans beyond attachment that was there because of all those conversations, all that underlying work at homes, on the phones with me going, I'm with you. Whether you're here or we help you go somewhere else, and we did help people go elsewhere because they just, in their minds, they did not want to go beyond what was being required and asked of them. And I told them, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. And I think that's why the fan base went, you know, and I still to this day stand firm on it, right?
And I loved watching you guys play in Folsom. I loved it. Just there's a team mentality there. You know, the thing that stuck out is like every one of your hitters is on top of home plate, and you look, you got 88 hit by pitches, but it was to a man, and I'm like, okay, that's got to be something that they're focusing on offensively. Is like that's a team thing. That's a team concept thing. Is that like, okay, we're gonna get on the plate, we're gonna make the pitcher uncomfortable, we're gonna wear it if we need to. Like that was one of the biggest things that stuck out to me when I watched you guys.
That was something that as a player I had to develop, and we'll go back to Murph.
Yeah.
We had, I don't know if you can do it in today's day and age, right?
Well, they've taken away the Division I level, especially like you can't get. They want you to jump out of the way, which drives me nuts. You're rewarding the pitcher for a bad pitch. It drives me crazy. The ruling now at the college level needs to go away. Like I've said it forever. You're rewarding the pitcher for making bad pitches.
I agree with you, you know, and it's a mentality thing. It's 100% a mentality thing. And that's something with this particular club, you know, it was an ongoing process because we could have probably doubled that number, right? Yeah. And I can't tell you how many conversations like, hey, if that ball in flight isn't shoulder height or above, we ain't moving. Yeah. And again, it's a mentality. We ain't moving. I say we go back to a Murph deal, you know, that was there and wasn't blessed. Had to find ways to get on. Had our own special BP at times. Get our regular rounds, get in there. Yep. We're throwing at you so you can condition. Yep. You know?
I mean, in 420 on base percentage as a team, like you don't see that anymore. You just don't. Like that's 350 right now is good at the college level, but 420, I mean, it's a lot of opportunities to score when you're getting that many guys on base.
And that's it, and be able to cash in and don't let the moments get too big. Be willing to let things develop, you know, really bear down, visually. Have a defined plan going into each at bat, you know. And again, we look back, you look at those numbers and you're like outstanding. And here's the competitive side. We can be better. Yeah. We can be better, gentlemen. We can be better.
I mean, did you face much adversity? I mean, you lost 3 games in a row early. You know, you guys start playing so early. Is that part of the reason you have a smaller roster? Because you start playing in January. So, you know, from the pitching side especially, you're not going to need as many arms because you can kind of spread your games out throughout the year. But, I mean, what'd you talk to the guys? You lose 3 in a row. You know you're good, but that you're gonna have some tough stretches sometimes. I mean, what were the conversations with the guys at that point?
You know, to be honest, they're, you know, in that rut, and you're saying that right now, and I can instantly. I'm going back to that week. That was Palomar and Ventura week.
Yes. Yep.
And it was really beating ourselves. So that was one of the messages there. You know. Let's tip the cap. Let's acknowledge we don't accept, but hey, we get beat. Let's get beat. Yeah. Let's not beat ourselves. And then that was kind of the scenario and the situation going through specifically and especially during that 3-game span that week there. And then a lot of it too, I think, Ryan, is a lot of people, when I tell them how we set up our preseason schedule, non-conference part of it, they look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm just a firm believer Dennis instilled it in me early. Um, at the next level, it's about series. It's about consecutive days. And here at our level, for whatever reason, we don't want to do it. The consensus doesn't want to do it. And if you're truly about providing for those student athletes and preparing them the best you possibly can, then why wouldn't you emulate what they're going to be experiencing at the next level? And that's something that we do in the preseason non-conference part of it. We may not play the same team, but we're going to go 3 consecutive days, the best we possibly can, as we coordinate, communicate, putting that schedule together. With that, it's going to force you to utilize your depth. And you have to be willing and you have to be okay for those things that are going to happen. But for us, it's like, it's glaring information. It's necessary information to not only address what, hey, we need to attack and work on, on the field, but it's also going to give information to the player as well as us.
And I love your guys' playoff format. I think you guys got it right with the playoff format, and I really like the championship series with the 2 from the North and the South. And I like the first day where everybody got to take pregame, BP on the field. It felt more like a regular game more than a postseason where it's abnormal. But I really do like the California setup and how you guys have things set up there.
Thank you. It's a grind. You get there, you definitely earn it. Yeah. You definitely earn it. And I love the series part of it. Yeah. I love the series part of it. And then, hey, at the final, hey, now you get back to that double elimination format, and your depth's coming into play 100%.
I mean, I talked about it earlier. Are you looking at the record book at all for wins? I mean, are you looking at it?
That's where you don't know me, right?
Because you still have a lot of years left. I mean, it's realistic for you. Like, the other guys, they're on the back end of it. Ron Scott just retired. Pick's done. Like, those guys are on the back end of it. You're right in the prime of it.
I think I'm, outside of Pick and again, another mentor that I've never had the privilege to share a dugout with, be a part of, but you talk about tremendous respect for that man as well. Alto, may he rest in peace. I've been fortunate, beyond fortunate to be around these guys, to learn from them afar, like I said, not share a dugout, but have, conversations, things of that nature. But that turnover where you're saying where I'm at, it's like, there's been so much in this conference. Like I'm the old guy now, I'm the guy, the old guy, I'm at 50. But I don't pay attention to the stuff, honestly, truly. And I should probably pay attention a little bit more. So when it comes to the history and things of that nature,
Ron and I talked about it a little bit on our podcast I did with Ron, after he broke the record, but he talked more about trying to savor things. And I think he knew I think he knew he was going to be done at that point, but he talked a lot on the podcast about trying to savor those moments because they are fleeting at times. And again, you have to savor those moments because they don't come around all the time.
Absolutely. And I just think it's where I'm at. I think it was embedded in me and with instilled with Dennis as well as, and all of us that have had time with him understood as well. His big thing was, you stay in the moment. You stay in the moment. Too far ahead, you talk about, you have a dream. This was one of his big ones. You have a dream. Well, don't spend too much time dreaming. It's now. It's the moment. And I truly think that's how I've lived my life as well. Yeah. As we get older, though, Ryan, life and start thinking about, hey, you're set up, retirement, financials, family, those types of things. Yeah, a little bit, but I still to this day, I try to stay in the moment as best I possibly can. It's worked. It's been good. It's been a good recipe to try to follow and be able to pass on to the young men that I come across, you know.
With the larger roster, were you having to maybe change how you're viewing guys' roles at all, or did it stay pretty consistent from what you've done in the past with the larger roster?
Yeah, I think it it gave us more flexibility, and man, if you look from opening day to the championship game, we had a multitude of guys who played a multitude of defensive positions, you know, um, and it played out, and their willingness to, you know, because we know this, you know, how many times do we fight where, no, why are you telling me this? You know, I'm not that, you know. Um, but again, that goes in. I think that goes heavily into the relational aspect of things, to where, hey, you you gain you gain their trust, and they understand you're 100% there for them, to assist them and allow them to succeed, to grow, to develop, to move on, to extend those years. We don't want Mr. Baseball knocking on our door. We push that away. He's coming. We can't avoid it. But once they know that you're there for them, to push him off as long as possible and let them play this game, let them be able to compete in this realm of this game as long as they can. Um, it's a precious thing. It's a precious thing.
You're an ultra utility player, so I mean, you kind of got in that mode of moving around. I moved around too, so I played, especially in summer ball, I played multiple positions. But that make it a little easier for you to maybe communicate to guys like, "Hey, I played every position on the field except for catcher."
It's it's something that I bring to the table with them in
Yeah,
conversations, you know, and it's something that, you know, here at our level, we would love to just spend time with our club. We got to teach classes.
yeah.
It's backwards in California, um, but it's something that I share with my students as well. And it's I'll never ask you to do something that I would never do or that I've never experienced. And when it comes to that situation and scenario, particularly, Ryan, it's easy to come across because, gentlemen, look, man, I can give you my experience having to deal with the adjustments, uh, the the feeling of being uncomfortable because of the change that's coming about, you know. So yeah, absolutely help me out. And you know what, with today's day and age in the game, even at the pinnacle, and I refer to the bigs as the pinnacle. Um, how many guys, how many of those utility guys up there that are succeeding on the successful teams, especially, that are being prevalent in the spotlight? So I think that helps as well.
You know, when I was in California, and we talked about this, and it was on the California podcast about just with your guys picking up the dirt afterwards. I mean, when does that start for you? Does that start as soon as they get there in the fall, talking about respect for the game and doing the right things? Is that as soon as that in the recruiting process? You know, when are you having that conversation with your players?
That more is once fall hits, we got everybody in classes and in the seat. And to be honest with you, we don't hit the field for the first 2 weeks of fall. At least it's week number 3, beginning of week number 3, we start going on the field, and we tease them. We're going to crawl, or we're going to first grade. We're going to elementary, you know, and then we'll amp it up progressively, and we start bringing in, you know, the cultural mentality, approach, things that are important, that are vital, that have carryover. They might not see the value or carryover at that particular time and moment when it's presented to them, but understand. And that one there, right, like I said, is just that's just number one. Wherever we show up, wherever we have the opportunity to work out, play, you're going to leave the place better. That's the goal. Leave it better than when you showed up. It's just doesn't matter where it's at. And hopefully it carries over not only to the ball fields, to everywhere they go.
Those first 3 weeks, how long are the classroom sessions for you guys?
Um, you know, it just depends. Usually it's to get them acclimated. Those first 2 weeks, it's important for us. Has been we establish, hey, is this something we want to do? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Especially with the youngins coming in, because they think they got it. They're pounding it. They're confident. We've been through it. They're playing travel ball, all this, that, all year round. This is not going to be anything. And so we do it for two things. Hey, get them acclimated as best as possible to what the schedule is going to be about. We're not doing anything on the field, so there's one less worry and one less thing on your plate that you have to take care of. All right. We still meet, and that's where that our classroom time comes in, those meeting sessions. But it's about getting into class, understanding what the schedule is. Hey, when do you need your intake to fuel that Ferrari, that body? Understand time increments that you're going to have. Where's your flexibility? Things of that nature. Then we'll start bringing in the morning workouts.
Yep.
And again, it's all for us. It's all for a reason. You're going to have half the people in the country going, times have changed. Why are you working out so dang early in the morning? I value their opinion, but that's their opinion. And then you're going to have the other half.
Get to bed earlier at night.
There's advantages all across the board.
Get to bed earlier at night.
And then you want to see, hey, is this important for you?
For sure.
Is this important for you? Because if you're showing up to that interview, you're unprepared, you're late, it's not going to end up well for you. It's just the parallels that come, and that's really why we do those things.
We're not asking enough of kids now. Like we're not asking enough of them, and you have to do things like that for it to become a priority for someone. If you're not asking them to do those things, it's not that much of a priority for them. Life isn't easy. Baseball isn't easy. Like all of that comes with challenges. So, I talked to coach at Herkimer, Coach Rathman. They just won the Division III junior college championship. Military guy, but we talked about it. You have to make it a priority for them. And part of that is them accomplishing goals now too. Like you have to set challenges up for them to be able to accept a challenge, overcome it. They get confidence off that.
100%. And it's the accountability factor. You can talk about it or you can be about it.
Yes. Yep.
And that's tough. And I know for the younger guys coming into this profession, and this is what they want to do, that might be one of the biggest challenges that they're going to come across, to be able to uphold. If that's what your standards, your expectations, that's part of your cultural belief, from the accountability standpoint, can you stand by it regardless? Is that your highest prospect, or is that your guy clinging on to the last spot on the roster? And for us, again, no egos, doesn't matter. Everyone is vital. You're a part of it. You're a part of it. And everyone is going to be upheld to the exact same standards with zero exceptions. And I think once those scenarios and situations pop up and they present themselves, they're all doing this, Ryan. What's he going to do?
Yep. How's coach going to react to it?
What is it? And when you can do it to your best player, or best players, it's like, you may be all out here, and then when that moment happens and the example is set, here it is. It's no longer about words, it's actions. Let's go. The belief system, it just goes through the roof. But then again, it's like you said, it's not only about our dang game. It's about life. And if we aren't preparing them for that biggest game of life, we're doing them a damn injustice.
Yep.
And now that starts with the recruiting process. Majority of the time when I sit them down and it comes in, is there's a vow. And if you vow to this family, this Tiger family, I promise and vow to you as a father. And that's how you're going to be treated. You will be treated exactly the way my own flesh and blood is treated in my household. That's my vow. And I still say I was fortunate to coach my own son, and you and I talked a little bit about it. And, again, it's words, those situations, examples come up. Oh, yeah, it's not about words. He's going to do it. It's set. He's following through 100%. But when my son came aboard and played for us, it was really that year in that group that just the culture just went off, because it was like, oh my, it was that part of, I promise to treat you, guide you, mentor you as I am my sons. They saw it firsthand, and I think
see a
that
different
was
side of it. That's why I did the father and son episodes during COVID, because I don't think people realize that. And to a person, coach, they still feel like it's the best part of their coaching journey is when they got to coach their own kid. But the byproduct of that is how the team sees you interact with your own kid. I just think it makes a more cohesive unit, because they see that, okay, this actually is what he's talking about, and they're not treating them any different. Like there's no special circumstances for the kid. Probably harder. I mean, it really is. It's harder.
we have to admit that.
It is harder. It's harder on the kid. It is, because you are going to get your accountability is different than everybody else, because you have to hold yourself to a higher standard, because it's family. It's not just you're playing for coach now. You're playing for family. So your accountability as the player is way higher than the other players. It is.
100%. And there's no shut off.
No.
The tough part is the no shut off. And mom and wife
Yes.
would let me know on a consistent basis, like, hey, we have to be able to shut off. He gets it there, he gets it here.
Yep.
That balance part, no question. That's the tough part. Yep. But again, nothing better. I wouldn't change anything. And I was beyond blessed, and I truly do to this day. And I tell everybody that was the most pivotal change in my coaching tenure. Was that opportunity there. And I tease him because I said I probably forced him out of the game, but it pushed him onto what his true passion and vision was, and that was to be a firefighter. And he's a full-time firefighter at the age of 23. That's
awesome.
That's pretty good. Pretty proud.
How much of the recruiting process for you also with the guys that show up is getting to play in the Orange Empire Conference?
It's huge. It's been huge from day one. Like I said, I didn't really understand, when I was a player coming in, it was more of, hey, we got this guy, Dennis Rogers, coming into RCC, that's going to take over this program. And my high school coaches, Don Harris and Gary Parcell. Gary's still at Norco High right now. And they're like, hey, man, you got to play for this guy. And I think I shared this with you as well. I would never tell my guys this in today's day and age, even though it's changed right now because of COVID. There, a lot of institutions aren't requiring the SAT or ACT right now. And I don't know if that's going to come back or not, but I was so sold because two of my former teammates had already started playing for him his first year there in Randy Curtis and Craig Benham. And they're like, you have to play for this guy. You have to play for him. So they had me so sold, and I hadn't even talked to Dennis yet. And
the players are the best recruiters. They are. The players are the best recruiters.
I've had conversations. I just had another conversation with the coach the other day. Like, hey, man, the guy was committed here. And I'm like, hey, you know me? Hey, if you want him, have him. if they want to be here, they have to want to be here. We're not going to force anybody to be somewhere where they do not want to be, because in the long run, what I have found out, Ryan, and I've experienced, you're going to continue to fight different fights throughout their time at your place. So you got to be okay. Whether you got to get some calluses or whether it's just skin in the game. You got to get mentally okay with what this level and this process brings. But it's the players. We don't even have conversations with these guys. It's the players. They go out and play or they go out and work out with players, and then their conversations strike up, and the next thing you know, the players are going, "Hey, this guy wants to come here, coach," or "Hey, this guy wants," and we're like, "Whoa." Hey, there's some protocols here, man. And there's some moral and ethical things that got to take place, But to go back to your point, the best recruiters, 100%, are the players.
Yep, for sure. When does the team offense start for you then, too? Because, again, like I said, that was the thing that stuck out about watching you guys play, was just there was a team mentality. Is that in the classroom sessions before you get on the field? Is that as soon as you get on the field? When does that team offense mentality start for you guys?
It's both. Again, it's, we're in the crawl stages, and with the crawl stages, it's more of, hey, we get to fill these guys out. See what they bring to the table. Where's the strengths? Where's the weaknesses? What do we got to address? And then it starts formulating. I would say probably in the second month is where we start, okay, now let's really start bearing down, heating down into what our philosophies are, our belief system. And then sometimes we'll adjust those things based on what our personnel is, But that goes in. And again, we use that word resiliency. Matter of fact, the rings that are being made, it's on them, because that's what it is. That's what's displayed. That's what was showed during the offensive side of things. Find a way, any way. Don't want to take aggressiveness away, but we got to be ready 100% from pitch number one and to be in attack mode,
And it stuck out with your pitchers too. I mean, you're first guy that I saw. Again, that's what I expect out of a California pitcher. Could spin a breaking ball when you need to in hitters counts. Could mix off speed in and hit. I mean, it was your prototypical California style pitcher. That really good slider, but it was the same on the pitching side too. Just attack everything, attack the hitter with everything you got, and go to work.
Let's go to work. And they were tired. Those two youngsters were tired. They were tired. And to be honest with you, share a little bit, right? We actually had conversation a little bit staff wise, like, hey, do we flip it around? Because we truly believed, hey, from the pitching side of things, our strength and the opportunity to really make the impact and get this done was going to come from our pen.
Yeah.
And they were displaying it. They were huge. But we said, hey, we are who we are. This is who we are. We're going to ride them for whatever it is. But tons of grit, man.
Yeah.
Showed tons of grit.
Do you have a fail forward moment? Do you have something that you thought was going to sidetrack you, but looking back now is one of the best things that happened to you?
Man, we can go many from the fall to where we're at.
And even on your personal journey too, on your life journey.
Oh man. I've not shared this with a whole lot of people, only with people that are close to me. Like I said, there's two really special programs that are always going to be dear in my heart and in my soul. And for me, as time evolves, right, and goes on, we have to understand the reality, what the climate has brought to us and changed. We all have aspirations as players, as coaches, to take those challenges and have the opportunities to compete at the highest levels. D1 side, I got into this, wasn't anything I dreamed of, kind of pushed into it. Um, did I want to coach at the D1 side? Yes. Today's today's day and age and my beliefs, do I believe that I can bring things to the table to allow success to be had program wise at the division 1 side? Absolutely I do. You better not be competing or coaching or playing if you don't have those beliefs, right? um, but what life brings you, you know where you're at, and I've given everything that I have, mentally, physically, to this institution, not only program, but to the institution. I truly feel.
Well, Ron and
When
I
they
talked
say
about that too, and his biggest disappointment was getting turned down for the Fresno State job, but it's also the best thing to happen to him because he doesn't do what he's done at Fresno City if he gets the Fresno State job. Like it's not close. So like life's gonna stick it to you sometimes, but it's really how you handle it and how you deal with it. And it's a lot. It's more life circumstances than it is anything else. Than where that's where you end up as your life circumstances.
it's where you're at. Where are you standing? Where are you standing? That's what you have control over. That's what's been given to you. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to make it the best place you possibly can with what you have control over? And that's where I'm at. And with this time, like I said, I've given everything to it. It's that there. You don't even you don't send out resumes. You don't make phone calls. Other people are making phone calls, and they have deals already done before it's even announced.
Yes,
it's just the way it's created nowadays. So you get those texts and those phone calls. Hey, this and this. No, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you, but it's not reality. But to not get sidetracked, this going through these last 2 years was the first times I ever thought about, like, hey, what else can I do? The frustration, the anger, the distrust of what was being presented, and then what never came to fruition. Continued obstacles, having to deal with tremendous disappointment, having to be the communicator where no one else institutionally, but yet they relied on you to be able to deliver those messages, no matter good or bad, majority of the time bad. Getting in that car and traveling on the road and showing up to homes and consoling beat down young men, that were emotionally just distraught, and trying to get them to believe and give hope to, you name it. Ryan, weren't even allowed on our campus or our field for a year and a half. When Dave and I showed up for the first time, you talk about an eerie feeling. It was like when the pandemic hit and you gotta go, everyone in panic. We literally had our laptop plugged in, scoreboard, everything laid out. It was like a mad rush, and we showed up and everything was in the same spot, not untouched. You talk about eerie, just eerie feeling, So for me, it was really, what do I do? What's out there?
Who are you guys leaning on? Everybody's going through it for the first time. Like there's no protocols in place. Nobody's ever done that before. Like who are you guys leaning on to get clarification on things?
I wish I could tell you, right?
I hurt so bad for all of you coaches during that time. I was hurting for everyone because you were dealing with things that no one in the history of humanity had to deal with before.
And to this day, to be honest, we are the laughing stock in our conference when it comes to what we've had to deal with, what we're still dealing with. You know, it's we're the laughing stock, rightfully so. You know, it's um, I don't know. And again, we're the only ones outside of, Orange County in our conference. We're in Riverside County. Um, but I mean, you got neighboring schools that aren't in our conference that moved, adjusted, have eliminated, mandates. They're progressing and we're still stuck, but we'll still continue to try to adjust and do the best we can. And I think sometimes, Ryan, that's probably looked upon from up top and go, hey, they keep performing.
Yeah.
They
You can
keep
handle
producing.
it. You can handle it.
They can handle it.
That's how the
So kind of a
convention was for
catch-22.
us. I mean, Cook County put all these mandates in. You drive 5 miles outside of Cook County in the neighboring suburbs, didn't have the same protocols as Cook County in Chicago.
Wild,
It was
wild.
wild.
It, it,
It was
it
wild. I
just,
ran an event the next weekend in the suburbs, and there was nothing like it was in Cook County, 5 miles to the east. I was
you know, we still can't use our field for outside. We get called all the time to whether it be Connie Mack teams, travel teams, um, community camp, things of that nature, because hey, they got to fulfill the protocols. Where next week we're going to be involved in the community with youth camp, in town, in Riverside. Um, Zero protocols, and there's probably going to be 150 to 200 kids and parents. We can't even use our own field for that. It's it's baffling. It's baffling.
Hey, you're in great shape. I got to ask you about your morning or evening routines. Like, are you working out a lot? Because you are in good shape. Like, you're fit. So, I mean, do you have any evening or morning routines? That's one of the other things I like asking successful people because they all have different hacks for how they stay on
I
top of things.
I need to get back on my track, um, because I did get sidetracked this year a little bit. Thank you. It's something that I do, and I think it's something that was brought on with me. With again, I said, hey, here in California, we're backwards in this profession. We got to teach those general courses and with the kinese based, movement based courses. So fitness, I got boot camp classes, I got weight training classes. And again, it's something that is my internal belief. I'm not going to bring anything to the table for my students, my players that I haven't experienced. So therefore, it's something as well early as a player, my stature, my size, the work ethic part, I had to address it, increase the strength, flexibility, speed, agility, use those tools, maximize those tools. So it's something that I adopted and implemented into my lifestyle at a really young age to allow me to compete. And it's just something that I've been able to carry over and been able to provide. You know, I still try to get in there in the early morning workouts with the guys because you know how it is, Ryan. If you have the ability to demonstrate,
Yes.
or you're going to sweat some bullets with them. You know,
I
they
did
they
too.
just
My
they just
assistants
tend to
thought I
want to
was
give you a little
nuts.
more.
We did
Yeah,
stuff with the ROTC program, so we had boot camp days the first part of the semester, and I jumped in a couple times with them, and these were hard, really hard. And my assistants were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I need to show these guys that you can still do it." Like, again, a lot of it's up here, and so I every once in a while, at 45, 46 years old, I'm jumping in with those guys and doing stuff with them because I think they need to see it sometimes. Um, you
one
know,
hundred percent,
and then
one
teaching
hundred
yoga
percent.
was one of the best things I started doing too. My last couple of years at Western because it forced me to get up early. It was a 6:15 a.m. class. I was doing it 2 days a week. Monday and Wednesday would teach it, and it forced me to wake up at 5, 4:45, 5 to get ready because I'm not flexible. So to teach that class, I would have to do a warm up because I couldn't go into it cold. So, but that completely changed me from an evening person to a morning person. I think you can do what's asked of you. That's a great thing with the brain and the body is you can acclimate to whatever you're asking it to do.
100%. I'm a firm believer. As we get older, it's less sleep that we get.
Yeah.
You know, playing because we're getting up so many times in the middle of the night. I'm putting my hands up whenever I get 4 consecutive hours in. That's a great night.
Yeah.
And we're early risers. I'll jump on the bike and I'll ride through the town and ride that bike. I'll still push weight. I don't push heavy like I used to.
I don't either.
It's a lot of hit interval stuff.
I love hit. For anybody that hasn't, anybody listening in, anybody that hasn't jumped on a hit class, I would highly recommend it. It's the best bang for your buck. You will get a lot done in a short amount of time, and you don't have to do it. You can do 20-minute hit workout, and that's a lot of bang for your buck. And you look at the research now from heart, getting your heart rate up, slowing it down, getting it up. That's the best way to do it, and it's the best bang for your buck from a workout standpoint.
That's my class. I have a class
Love
called
it.
body sculpting, and that's the one they all want to be in. And I tell them all from the get-go, it's going to be a love-hate relationship. You're going to hate me like crazy during the class time, but you're going to love the benefits that it's going to bring to you after.
Yep.
And the goal with them and with the general students is always, I want you to carry this beyond the class.
That's a lifestyle.
That's my whole number one objective and goal.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%.
Have you ever gotten bad advice? You've been surrounded by some great mentors. Have you ever gotten bad advice from somebody?
Ryan, that's a great question. I would say yes, bad advice 100%, but not in the profession. I've been really, really tremendously blessed with some incredible men that have been coaches, man. From high school to, I can still remember my youth days.
Yeah, mine too.
With the guys that left an imprint, an impression on me, an influence on me, positively. And I think it all starts, to be honest with you, Ryan, it starts in your household. And again, that was something my grandfather, my grandmother, parents that it didn't matter who you were across. It was about respect. You better not give any flack. There better not be any body language. You work, you give your best. And I think that type of mentality opens you up as you get older and you're able to recognize, and you're not going to be affected by whatever's coming to you. You're willing to accept or work through whatever challenges may come about. But man, I've been blessed. From Louise, man. Dennis, Murph, Shribes, Nino. In our conference, I'll go back to Alto, Biscardo. What do you have? 40 years. Pick. Just unique Bert, unique individuals. Don Snedden. I've been blessed, man. I've been blessed. Pick as a player. I went to Arizona State. Jeff, went to Tennessee. And this is what a good man he is. He's incredible. And a tremendous respect. He told me as a player, hey, you find a way to get to Omaha, I'll be there. This is where I got a Riverside uniform on. He's this coach at Cypress, and they're good. It's kind of the standard at the time, for sure. Okay. And didn't know why, why is he telling me this, we fall short my junior year, man, heartbroken in Miami, Jason Michaels, with the grand slam in the ninth. We get opportunity the following year, and we find a way to get there and come out of Wichita. Um, at Omaha, like you're talking, hey, we get that time to work out before state championships. Omaha, you know that. And I use that word when we were going back and forth. I said electric because there's nothing like it.
It's not. I was just there.
And I try to relay that. I try to relay that experience to my guys. You know, it's about having that opportunity, man. And I know everyone wants to play professionally, but for me, you know, my mentality and the pro guys, the advisors and agents out there, they're gonna be like, God dang it, I liked Rudy, but I like him a little less right now. I'm a firm believer, man. Maximize your collegiate years to the best of your abilities and what presents to prepare yourself as fully as you can before you put your signature down in your playing pro ball. But man, you're going to do that. There's no experience whatsoever that can be even minutely close to what you are going to be able to have once you get to Omaha.
I've been in the Major League Baseball World Series as well. It's not the same. The electricity is not the same.
These are goosebumps, Ryan. I'm talking about it. I'm 50 years old. And my heart was broken there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we talked about it. You ended the -5 era. That game ended. People listening in that didn't hear it, you know, USC, Arizona State, that game ended -5s, and for the better. It was for the betterment of baseball. I mean, 100%. It was for the betterment of baseball. But yes, that game was wild. That was a wild game.
To recapture that, I mean, it's uncapturable, you know, and you know, to go back to pick, we pull up in the bus. And we're getting out on the bus because it's our workout time. We go to the media, have your media day, and then you're going down to get your workout in. And I walk off the bus, and man, who's first in line?
Pick.
It was Pick. See, I'm getting emotional right now.
I'm going to go see him next week. I mean, he just broke the Cape League win record. I'm going up there next week to see him because that's how much he means to me too. Like, he's just an unbelievable person.
That's an incredible man. That's somebody. Hey, he verbally said something, and then boom. And Pick style, I get off, and he reads my face, and he goes, "I'd be here." Gave me a big old hug. Yeah. No, that's Pick.
Yep.
You know, incredible. And you talk about respect, man. Tremendous.
What are some final thoughts, or maybe something I should ask you that I didn't?
What a beautiful game we get to be a part of. You know, you do a tremendous job in what you do, what you provide for everybody. You know, our climate's changing, but the game itself and the parallels that it brings to prepare young men, and now you women as well.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, 100%. The opportunities that it provides, the experiences, and I would say we can harp on all the X's and O's and strategies and tactics and things of that nature, but ultimately, it's always going to come down to relationships.
Yep.
You know.
And you can make new ones. Like, you and I didn't know each other, but I feel like we're going to have a relationship now. I mean, it's a great thing about baseball that I just don't see it in any other industry, sport. Like, I just don't see it like I see it with baseball, with the relationships that you can develop even later on in your career. You can develop new relationships with people because you have that common bond of baseball with someone.
100%, right? 100%.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. So,
absolutely.
It's always a pleasure.
I can't wait till we come across again.
Yep.
Give you that handshake and that hug.